Christina, welcome.
Oh, hi.
So, Christina Kushner is a PMP certified project manager with extensive experience in IT, digital, web type project management. And she's also very active on social media, most notably for me with her excellent and rapidly growing project management sandbox YouTube channel, which I'll link to below. And Christina is now branched out and has created her signature training program for new project managers who want to manage IT projects, but without knowing how to code. And again, we'll link below to how you can access that if it sounds like the thing for you. But with a specialism in IT and web-based projects, Chris is equally comfortable both in the agile arena and in the kind of traditional project management arena, which gives her access to a wide range of project types and project planning tools, which is why I wanted to speak with Chris today about building a project plan. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the awesome introduction. And thank you for the invitation to be a guest here. That's absolutely amazing. And I'm glad that we have found out how to sync here. That's awesome. And enjoying to be here with you.
So let's just start off with the basics. When we talk about a project plan, what do we mean? What is a project plan actually?
Well, that is actually a great question because what I usually tend to see, especially among people who are not really deep into project management, they usually call project plan either a project schedule, somewhere built maybe in the Gantt chart, or the scope of work. However, as you obviously know, a project plan is more complex. So when we think about, building a project plan, we need to consider not only the project scope and not only the project schedule or the estimates of work, but a lot of more other dependencies. So I'm talking about the overall project cost, procurement inclusive, the project resources, project stakeholders, and communication in general. And what is not less important, project risks and project quality. Okay, so honestly, I'm a big fan of project quality, so I just cannot exclude it from the list. So to summarize the above, basically, project management plan is a kit of project management documents that we would need to create before we start the project work. And these documents will help us to deliver results of quality and within the project management KPIs.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. A project plan isn't a schedule. A schedule is a part of the project plan. And I always think when you're doing a project, particularly if it's complex or it's important to the organization, you're going to have people who are going to be skeptical and they're going to come up to you and say, how are you going to do that? And your job when creating a plan is to have the answer to every single how are you going to do that question that's going to come up. Not just because you need to know, but because you need to give that confidence to whoever is asking that question that you've thought it through and you've got a good answer.
Absolutely. So yeah, another point of creating those documents is to keep information about the project transparent and accessible for everyone who is engaged.
So in a small project, I could envisage having a single document that has all the answers into that. But as projects get larger, when we're talking about a project plan, we're probably more talking about a suite of documents, many documents that are bundled together. So given what we've both just agreed, could you give us an indication of the breadth? What are all the kind of documents that we might consider putting in? And maybe if you, as you go, highlight the ones that you would expect to see in just about every project and where other documents might be a bit more specialized.
I would say this is might be a complicated question because, for instance, as you have mentioned, all projects are different. So every project is unique. And that is why project plan is quite a flexible instance, I would say. And therefore, we did not actually have any rigid rule on what documents we would need to include in every project plan. So basically, when we are thinking about what we would need during the project, we would want to learn more and to analyze all the dependencies that we're going to have on the project. and what could also impact the project, as this is something that we would need to keep in mind when planning the list of the documents for the project as well. So naturally, the bigger the project is, the more complex the project plan is going to be. And if this is a small one or a repetitive project, maybe, as you have mentioned, this could be just a single document with all the relevant information. Yeah. So, however, on the other hand, if we would just think about kind of a neutral plan, maybe that could be suitable for almost all the projects. For me personally, I would consider including the project charter. Yeah, because this is just the overall information that helps people to understand what the project is about and why do we do this. So scope.
And I think a lot of our listeners will call the project charter something different, because it's one of those documents that has more different names around the project community than just about anything.
Absolutely. So, this is a separate topic to discuss, I would say.
Yeah. So I would call that the project definition or the scoping document. And I know a charter or definition goes wider than scope, but some people call it scoping document or project proposal. Sure. So, but absolutely, you've got to start with what the project is and what it is not, haven't you?
Yeah. Another thing to consider and to absolutely be included in is the scope of work. So we need to know what we're going to do. Cost management plan. I would not just say project budget, because there are other dependencies we may need to spend money on during the project. Project schedule, resource and responsibility matrix, just to give people an idea who's responsible for what on the project, and stakeholders and communication plan, because we need to know who these people are, what they can impact during the project, and how basically to communicate with them, and where people need to get the information about the project. And along with that, there are three more documents that I would also include. Changelog, because every project has changes. Risk register, we need to define what risks we're going to have on the project, and quality management plan, absolutely.
Yeah. So as your project gets even bigger and more complex, what are some of the other things that you might additionally draw into that?
Well, I would say that it is important to define in the very beginning of the project what methodology we're going to use, because having no understanding of what methodology is going to be, we might miss something within planning the project itself. Because having waterfall versus having agile may lead us to different paths in delivering the project. So waterfall, as you know, is the classical one, and it is also called predictive, meaning we need to have a precise and accurate plan in the very beginning before we start any work on a project. Versus with agile, which welcomes changes, there could be absolutely different kit of documents, and this could be either a high-level schedule, but more complex and more accurate communication plan, because communication is paramount in all the projects, but specifically in agile. What is more, waterfall and agile have different constraints. So with waterfall, we usually stick with constraints in time and budget, while with agile, we deal with scope a lot. So this is another dependency that we need to keep in mind while planning a project.
So some people would naively say that, but hang on a moment, agile projects, we don't have a plan. You do a bit and then you think about it and you do another bit. What's your answer to, we don't need to plan, we're doing agile? Just forget the plan, just get on with it.
Oh, yeah, that is a good question. Actually, well, this is a common misunderstanding that people feel that agile doesn't have any plans at all. But on a high level, still, I would say that should we have waterfall, should we have agile, we're still going to have a plan there. So even with agile, if we do not have a precise and accurate plan for every piece of work there, still we do have milestones that we're going to plan. Well, for instance, with waterfall, we plan every item in our work breakdown structure, and we exactly know when it's going to start, when it's going to finish, and what goes afterward. On the other hand, with agile, we need to know the schedule for the milestones. For instance, we need to get the MVP to the market.
Yeah.
And finally, the client want to start earning money with this. This
Yeah.
means that we still need to have a plan when it's going to be delivered. And with Agile, just the only flexibility that we can shift the work items among them. But at the end of the day, we still have a plan. And at the end of the day, every customer, every client is asking the questions, how much is going to be and when it's going to be delivered, Agile inclusive.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I have very little time for the people who argue that an agile project, we shouldn't be bothering making estimates. We shouldn't be giving budgets because we know that whatever we estimate is going to be wrong. I'm very strongly of the view, it doesn't matter how you're delivering the project. There's a customer there who's putting their money and their reputation on the line. And if you're not able to tell them how much they're hazarding, let's say that, not gambling maybe, but what the scale of their investment is against their reward, you kind of not
Absolutely.
serving them well, I think, as a project manager.
Yeah, 100% agree with you.
If we take the two extremes of waterfall at one end of the spectrum and pure agile at the other, how would you characterize the differences that I might expect to see in the type of plan you produce?
Well, I would say if we have these two absolutely different approaches in the line, with waterfall, obviously, we're gonna have an accurate and precise schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, we will have the accurate and precise distributed budget.
Yeah.
Again, considering the constraints that we usually have on those projects. On the other hand, with Agile, we will have more information about the communication guidelines and more information about the scope priorities and dependencies.
Yeah. If you've got those two things, how are you going to make your choice? What are the considerations for you as a project manager when you're thinking, where on this spectrum am I going to be between, as you say, a traditional project where we're going to nail down our timelines and our budget, to an agile project where we're going to really focus on communication and an overview of the timing? How are you going to make your selections about what approach to take?
Oh, that is interesting. So basically, there is a period of analysis, let's say, or research before we start the project, obviously. And that is the exact period of time when we might want to make this decision with methodology we're going to use. Should this be a pure waterfall or a pure agile, or maybe a hybrid of them? Yeah. And there are a couple of dependencies basically that we need to pay attention to and to keep in mind while making this decision. Specifically, first, as we have discussed, these are constraints. So if the client comes and says, I have only that much time and that much money, so obviously there's going to be waterfall. So we do not have any flexibility here. On the other hand, when the client comes and says that I want to develop the best project ever, the best product ever that will just skyrocket the market, well, we're going to move on with Agile because we have something that we want to develop in a better way, and we have something where we would want to have results of quality and better results comparing with what we potentially have initially planned. Yeah. And this would require changes and shifts in the project, and Waterfall would not have allowed us to do this.
Okay. You've made your selection. You've built your project plan. Is that it? Have you created it? Can you now forget the plan and just get on and deliver the project?
No, no, absolutely not. So every project, even if this is waterfall, it's a living and breathing organism. So this means that the deeper we are in the project, the longer we are in the project, the more information we're getting about it, meaning more changes are coming in, more risks are popping up, and more stakeholders are being discovered. And that leads us to the conclusion that we need to maintain the project documents throughout the project. So this doesn't mean that we just create them and forget for good. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. And by the way, this is also has a title, and it is called Managing Project Knowledge. And we are managing project knowledge throughout the project lifecycle and until the very last activity when we are transferring it to maintenance.
Yeah, excellent. And I think one of the things we have to be mindful of when we are evolving our plan to accommodate new knowledge, we need to keep it under version control.
Yeah, that is a great point.
One of the things that fascinates me is the different approaches different project managers have found to making version control work. And I know we're not here to talk about version control, but while I've got you on, what's your approach to version control in your domain for the kind of projects you deliver?
If we talk about tech, honestly, I would not go deep into this right now because that's going to be a really long conversation. And
yeah, I'm just after the basics, really.
Yeah. Let's, not talk about the delivery version control then, but the project documents version control. And the easiest way to control version is just to have a separate section at the very beginning and just point there on what date, what have we decided, what changes were applied, and who has applied these changes. So these are the three, let's say, criteria that we need to keep in mind. So we need to know when the changes have been applied, what decision has been made in terms of those changes. So what actually we're changing, what is shifting there, and who has made this decision.
Yeah.
So
keeping
this in mind, we will be able just to refer to this in the future and to define who should we address our questions about it.
Excellent. That's really great. I mean, you've taken us right from the beginning to thinking what a plan is, to how we build it, what goes into it, all the way to recognizing that we need to keep it fresh, keep it current. To cap all this off, have you got any kind of final tips, practical hints, advice for the people listening to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I have three general of them. First is to consider risks and dependencies, because these are the general criteria, let's say, that would impact how are you going to maintain the project management documents kit. Mm-hmm. Another thing is to have templates. So if you do not have any templates or predefined standards for the documents within your organization, just do it yourself. So it will facilitate a lot of things further on, because obviously you will have a lot of projects ahead. Yeah, and another tip from me personally, do not overwhelm the documents. Because you're gonna maintain them during the whole project, and maintain complex document is always something challenging. So you need to get things done fast and get things done efficient. So do not overwhelm them, keep them as plain as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that last tip is really important. It's a tip I often give when talking about risk registers. People get very excited about having column after column after column of information. And I always say, it's better to have less, to store less information, but to be rigorous about keeping it up to date and acting upon it. If you spend all your time filling in forms, then you're not going to be able to deliver the project. And when you start recognizing that there's too much to do in maintaining all this documentation, you don't maintain it, and you've actually in a worse place. So I think that's a really good tip. So thank you for all of that, Chris. Let's end with how people can engage with you. You're on various channels. You've got lots of great information out there. If people want to find out more about what you do and perhaps get in touch with you, what are the best places to look?
I would say the first place to go is my YouTube channel, my Project Management Sandbox. And this is, I believe, the easiest one. Yeah, below there. Check it out. And the other one is my Instagram. So I'm more often there and I'm more accessible there. So if you would need any tips or any feedback or whatever, feel free to reach out to me there.
Okay, that's great. Good. I'll put all that and more information. Chris, you sent me a few other links as well. So I'll put all those in the description below. Chris, it's been an absolute delight speaking with you. We've learned a lot about project planning. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure for me. That was an awesome time, and I really enjoyed this communication and this conversation. Thank you very much once again for inviting me here.
Thank you. Please do give us a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll be creating loads more great project management content, so please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.